Time right now at 9:50 here on Live Impact News. We're going to stay with local leaders and some of our state leaders here in the Carolinas, because today the race to fill the late Senator Lindsey Graham's seat is heating up. Candidate filing closing today at noon ahead of the August 11th special primary. And one familiar name is back in the mix. Greenville businessman Mark Lynch, who challenged Graham in June. He finished second. He joins us live here right now in the Live Impact studio. Mr. Lynch, thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me, Jane.
Let us start with the race, obviously unexpected. The race now up to 10 candidates we know of, and still a few more hours to close in on who will be your in your field. But why re-enter this race?
Well, we're finishing, the race that God called us to back over 2 years ago. And so it was a tragic thing. I was up at 3 that morning, Sunday morning. We had a dog we had to put down that was real sick, and I checked on her and just glanced at my phone, and I couldn't believe what I was reading, that Lindsey Graham had passed.
Yeah, a total shock.
Yes. So our campaign team met late Sunday afternoon by phone. A lot of people were out of town, and some of the people came to our home, and we talked about it. And so we had to turn the campaign back on, because we did finish second, and nobody had ever penetrated Lindsey Graham's camp at the percentage that we did.
So
it was
close,
very
about
successful.
29%?
Yes,
30%.
right at 30%. And so we had lots of people calling, all of our supporters and donors and campaign volunteers, and said, please, we need you to run again. We've got to get you in. So we prayed about it, and we're in it.
You're in it. And so is there anything different about your pitch this time to voters versus what led up to June?
No, I mean, we have the same platform. We're a God-first platform. The only way we're going to make America great again is to bring God back first again. Our country was founded on biblical principles, and we've got to restore those to get our country back in a moral upclimb. We've been declining morally, and the country's falling, and there's horrible stuff going on, and everybody's ready for a true conservative leader like myself to get in and be their voice in D.C.
I want to go back to 25 when you decided to enter the political field. You're a businessman, very successful. Was that too much of a pivot for you? Was it everything you expected?
To get into this?
To get into this, yes.
Well, we got approached in 2019 because of our political activism and my national consultant work about educating the public about the infiltration of Islam in America, dealing with that in our green charter schools, and the people flooding across the borders, with open borders coming in to mosque and to their appointed locations to take our country down, and doing that kind of work and educating the public and training police and FBI and SLED agents. I got asked to run for an office in 2020 for a state Senate race. I lost that by 5%. That was the year of COVID, and we didn't have the ability to knock doors after March because everybody was locked down, wearing masks and everything. So, but we still almost won. So our political activist group, the United Patriots Alliance, continued to do work from the outside during COVID about reopening the state, education for people about the vaccine and how dangerous that was, speaking at the State House to open the state, going up against McMaster's appointment of a health czar in our state just a couple of years ago. We blocked that, and people saw how our activist group was executing and succeeding and winning in the areas we fought for the citizens. And they asked me again, when are you going to run again for office? And I said, what office would you have me run for? And they said, U.S. Senate against Lindsey Graham. So we prayed about it, met with consultants, and agreed to do it, and we did it. And so we're here to bring truth. Sure. A lot of people are all they ever talk about is the same issues every campaign: lowering taxes, the Second Amendment, and things like that. And then we don't have people running that are truly pro-life. I'm pro-life. Our forefathers in the writing of the Declaration of Independence mentioned that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, and the first right is the right to life. we murdered, Jane, over 64 million of our own in this country in the womb. And when God creates life, it begins at conception, and we don't have the right to end it. And so I'm a staunch supporter of pro-life. I'm supported by Equal Protection South Carolina. I have their endorsement, and also Abby Johnson, who is one of the nation's biggest pro-life advocates we have. And so I'll attack that issue. The other issue is affordability. People are struggling with the high cost of living right now with our inflation, with gas, groceries, the electric bill, all the things we're struggling with, and nobody's done anything about that. They talk about it during the campaign. We have a lot of career politicians that have entered this race that never ran against Lindsey Graham like I did, but they're jumping in now, claiming they're for term limits. Ralph Norman ran for governor. He lost, and now he's going to run for U.S. Senate, and he says he's not a career politician. I beg to differ. What he's doing is different than what he says. But the inflation issue, the affordability issue that we have, we've got to stop spending in government. We're $39 trillion in debt, and we don't have the money to be writing checks for anything. And people are concerned about these forever wars. We now are the war in Iran's escalating, and we're concerned about what's going on inside of our borders here at home with Islamic infiltration, Chinese Communist Party, the Democrat Socialists of America. We're being attacked at every angle, and we got to focus on our security here in the homeland, and I'll do that. We all swear to an oath to defend against foreign or domestic enemies, and we're not focusing on what's happening inside our border. So the affordability issue, again, stop spending. We've got to get rid of the big corporations that are buying up single-family housing, price-fixing the houses for young adults getting out of college, starting their life. They all have a concern. How are we ever going to have the American dream where we'll own our own home? And so we've got to look at that and tackle those issues.
And yet so many people are moving to the Palmetto State. And how do you find the homes for these people wanting to move to South Carolina?
That's right. So that's a big issue.
And you're in the upstate too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Healthcare is a big issue. It's time to totally destroy Obamacare and reanalyze that and bring back true health care that's affordable again. And then, we're all talking about the SAVE Act. The SAVE Act's been up for over 200 days, and we can't get that passed, and we have over 22 million illegal aliens in our country. And we have to have a SAVE Act and have a clean SAVE Act that deals with ID and proof of citizenship, right? And the other week, we had the NDAA that was tied into the SAVE Act, where we're merging our military intelligence with a foreign country. And I'm totally against that. All of the South Carolina legislature and Congress in D.C. voted for it. 7 House representatives voted no. I would have voted no. It's okay to contractually work together with other foreign countries that we trust, like Israel. They're our ally, but we're going to share and have Israeli control of our military intelligence, and I don't think that's good. That's unconstitutional. We shouldn't be doing that.
Where do you think Lindsey Graham fell short?
Well, my hat's off to anybody that would serve in Congress. He was in government helping America and South Carolina over 32 years. But the truth about his voting record, he had a 57% constitutional voting record. That's not good. He wasn't truly pro-life. He was okay with abortions up to 15 weeks in the womb, and voted on a bill that allowed women to abort up until the moment before delivery in 9 states. And so that's not pro-life. And then, he was involved with USAID, and they funneled over $122 million through USAID to NGOs working directly with Hamas and Al-Qaeda. And that's not good. So supporting enemies of our country in a way like that. You and I Jane, we're all taxpayers. We pay our taxes, and we're funding the demise of America by funding enemies of America. So that's not good.
President Trump did endorse Mr. Graham in the primary.
Yep.
Do you want a Trump endorsement?
I think that would be great. That was a big question for 15 months in our campaign. Why would Trump endorse Lindsey Graham? Everybody was scratching their head wondering
did you
why
find
he would do that.
an answer that satisfied your...
The only thing we know is that it is a lean Senate majority, and I know Trump had to rely on Lindsey Graham's vote for the big, beautiful bill because Lindsey would pull a couple of other senators with him, and so that was probably why. It's just politics.
And so how do you feel about being a politician?
I'm not a politician, and I won't be.
Okay.
I'm a statesman. I'll stand up for the truth and talk about the hard things nobody else is talking about. I'm a successful businessman. I bought into my father's business. We're now in our 74th year. And under my tenure with God at the center, we've grown our business 35 times, debt-free since 1999, corporately and personally. And I know how to work with people, and we have a awesome culture in our business. My son's third generation taking over with my daughter. And they said, "What's our culture, Dad?" And I said, we don't really have a culture statement, but if we wrote one down, it would be this: we love Jesus Christ, and we're the Navy SEALs of this industry. And we've always fought the giants. We're a family-owned and operated local appliance and TV and bedding and furniture store. And we fight against the big box stores, national chain stores like Sears and Roebuck that's no longer here. Circuit City's no longer here. H.H. Gregg's no longer here. Montgomery Ward's. We can go on and on and on. And we've had them all, and our business has grown and grown. And it's all about, we know who we work for. I tell everybody that comes to interview for a job in our company, I'm not the boss. The customer's the boss. That's who we all work for. I'm one of y'all. My job is to make sure I give y'all everything you need so that we can win against our competition.
So
and how we service the customer.
Right. So if South Carolina residents are the boss, the customers, the Americans, and they're asking you, what are they telling you that they need? What do they want?
Well, they want us to do what we say, and that's provide a great product for a great price, and remember them later 10 years down the road if they need service, and we need to provide excellent service fast and take care of them.
The field for the primary, like I mentioned, is quite full.
Yep.
Where do you differ the most that's going to set you apart?
Well, again, I'm not a career politician. I'm an outsider. The good old boy system is still running in our state house and in D.C., and they protect themselves and they talk a good game, and they all move to where the most popular place would be to help win their next election to keep their job. And a lot of them are seeking self-fulfillment through extra money in their position. They leverage their position for whatever their business is back home. It's called crony capitalism, and they work that to a degree, and they're not serving the people. We've got things we're all watching from the outside, wondering how can we keep doing these things and we can't get anything done, and it's because we have the wrong people in office. My wife and I have been on mission trips all over the world. I'm a deacon, an ordained deacon in our church at Burnsview Baptist Church, and we feel God's calling us to the next mission field is the swamp in D.C.
No kidding.
So there's a lot to do.
Your message to voters who backed Mr. Graham for over 2 decades and deciding who comes next.
Yes.
What is your message to them?
Well, South Carolina is ready for a true conservative, God-fearing patriot that will honor biblical values and the Constitution and how we make decisions, and that's what I'll do. We're tired of people that go to D.C. and then they forget about South Carolina. A lot of people all over the state, when we traveled and presented over 230 presentations in the state, they were like, we never see Lindsey Graham. And it was a kind of a joke. Well, he's either in Israel or the Ukraine, and he's trying to start the next war, and one of his nicknames was warmonger, and even came up against people who were talking about he's in violation of the Logan Act in the Ukraine because Trump was trying to have peace talks with Zelensky, and Senator Graham was promoting more war. And so we've got to understand war is the last thing, and we've got to think about our men and women that we put in harm's way. And it shouldn't be for political gain, ever. It should only be if there's an imminent threat to America.
If and when you find yourself apart from President Trump's viewpoints, things such as war, economy, what have you, how would you handle that? I'm
always vote, like I say, biblically and constitutionally. I love Trump. I voted for him 6 times. I support President Trump. Again, he's a man, and he can make a bad decision, and so I won't vote with Trump on everything unless it's what I consider to be the right thing to do. Sometimes saying no is the right thing.
His decision to go ahead and support the appointment of Darlene Graham, Lindsey's sister, to fill this out, and now she is going to seek a full seat. Where do you stand on that?
I think, that's been done before, where a family member has been appointed to serve in the interim for their loved one in a special election time before the election. But she's not eligible to run for Senate. The word's out. She didn't vote in 2 of the last 3 primaries. And so the Rules Committee of South Carolina is having to make a decision. Everybody's watching what that decision is going to be. There's a problem with Russell Fry, and President Trump was endorsing him if he decided to run, and then they're trying to make a rules adjustment for him too, where if he doesn't win the U.S. Senate, he can still run for a House seat again in Congress. And so our own party is bending rules for who they are choosing. So that's an election integrity issue I want the people to be aware of. Is our government installing who they want, or that has a lot of influence on the final decisions that are made, and the people are supposed to vote for these positions, not the government deciding who they're going to be.
Yeah, these committee decisions, a big part of the fight.
That's right.
What do you think?
That's an election integrity issue.
All right, so what do you think needs to happen here?
I think the government needs to stay out of it and have the election, and if they don't qualify to run, they don't qualify, or if they run and lose, they don't get to keep their old seat still.
All right. Mark Lynch, anything we need to know? Anything else this morning?
Yeah. I just want to say thank you to all of our supporters and voters and the people that volunteered and phone banked and door knocked in the last primary. Thank you for that. We finished a strong 2nd place. We achieved something nobody has done. It's been amazing that the government and everybody's gone ahead and started to choose who they would like to have. And after we finished 2nd, we got no mention hardly. And so thank y'all for doing that. We're back up, we're back out, we're working hard again. We can do it this time, and I appreciate everybody's vote of confidence. Go to lynchforsenate.com. You can send donations through the website there at Lynch for Senate, and you can volunteer to help and contact us. And the main thing is send prayers up. This is spiritual warfare at the deepest level. So I appreciate all the prayer teams in the state.
Mark Lynch running for the seat that vacated unexpectedly by Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, primary coming up August 11th. Thank you for joining us and coming into the studio this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.